This conference will now be recorded.
Excellent. It's good to see you guys, even if you can't see me. Okay, here we go. The time being 4:45 p.m., I'd like to call the May 7th, 2020 meeting of the Tilton Select Board to order. Before we get started, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you want to speak. Otherwise, the background noise will interfere with the meeting. As the chair of the Tilton Select Board, due to the COVID-19/coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically, and these reasons shall be reflected in the minutes. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that A, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone. Members of the public wishing to attend this meeting electronically may call the following conference call number at 1-866-899-4679, and the access code is 817-026-717. B. Additional public access by video or other electronic means will be available as follows. We are using the GoToMeeting platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate remotely using your smartphone, tablet, or computer at global.gotomeet.me/town of Tilton/Selectmen. This information can also be found on our website at tiltonnh.org under Meeting Schedule and Agendas, Board of Selectmen. C. We are providing public notice of the meeting and the necessary information for accessing it. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting via telephone conference and by GoToMeeting, and instructions are provided on the Town of Tilton website at tiltonnh.org and at the town kiosk. I'd like to remind the selectmen to connect back to the original meeting after the non-public. Wait a minute, I'm out of order here. Hold on. Okay, let's go back. D, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting that a member of the public wishes to speak or be recognized during any public comment or public hearing. If you're a member of the public listening in and have questions, please write your questions down, and at the end of each agenda item, I will ask if there are any questions from the public before we move on to the next agenda item. Please state your name and address and then ask your question. E, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public at tiltonnh.org, which will be monitored during the meeting. F, we will adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. And in the event that the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start now by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, Also, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Constantino,
Constantino present, and there are two other people in the room.
Bob,
Hog present, no one home.
I'm present and there's nobody here with me. Eric Pyra,
I am here. I am alone, and I have a dog that comes in once in a while.
okay, and Selectman Scanlon.
Present and alone.
I've got a flag. I really do, but I can't turn on my camera. So, given that circumstance, we will dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance once again. Okay, the first agenda item is to review or approve the minutes of 4:30. I would move them to the floor for discussion. Is there any additions, subtractions, or corrections?
I have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Um, we just went through an exercise where we identified if we were alone or not, but it's not reflected in the minutes. Should it be?
Almost undoubtedly, because it's a requirement of the governor's order. So, Gail, hello, Gail. Please take note of who's in the room. Is
Would
there
we
any
have to
other?
go back? Well, do we have to go back and correct previous minutes because we haven't done that in the past?
I would suggest to Gail she goes back and listens to the tape and to make the proper corrections.
That's all.
Jeannie, would you see that happens? Jeannie?
Yes, I
Okay.
will.
Thank you very much. Are there any other concerns or corrections?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple.
Selectman Constantino.
Thank you. On page 2, we're under, I guess it's Tim's, the finance director. Under economic impact continued, it looks like that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was just taken from his report. Under number 4, 4,000 police under comp time, it was just directly taken from his report, yet there was quite a discussion on that. And I believe I referenced that we really need to comply with the um, rules of the contract. And I think that that should be noted in the minutes. But there's nothing here that it was even any of this was even discussed. It just said Tim discussed the following, but the way that it's written, require comp time to be used prior to year end. Well, that's in the contract. Chief to manage pay time off comp time. Well, that
We'll
is
get, we'll
a
get,
lot.
we'll get Gail to add that.
Okay.
Yeah, I recall that.
I don't even think that's Tim's notes. Tim said a lot more than just that.
Yep, and it really, taking minutes of meetings, it's really, it doesn't have to, I think we've had this conversation before about how comprehensive, how detailed you want minutes to be. Typically, minutes can be brief discussion and only identifying what actions were taken if the board directed actions, if they took votes. But it doesn't have to be, comprehensive word for word
Right.
what was said. But obviously, if there's something that you think is important, as you've done, call it out and we'll get it in there.
Okay.
Pat,
I
I just say I did review that section for Gail, and I didn't catch that.
okay.
I recall the conversation.
I do too.
Okay. On page 3 of 7, under Pat reported, under She mentioned the Winnisquam High School senior class sign should be removed from the Veterans Memorial Monument out in front of Town Hall. And that is a true statement. However, it feels like that I didn't say, I did lead it to say, although then I'm very empathetic to the situation with Winnisquam High School senior class. And there, it feels like I'm just saying I don't really care about that. Regardless, it has to come out. And that's the way it sounds to me when I'm reading that. And I don't want myself to be portrayed that way. And there's no mention of the board coming up with an alternative as to putting it in the trough. It just says we want it out of there. That's it.
Okay, so noted, and we'll get that included.
Okay, and then just below that, under Selectman Fogg, the last sentence, it says, the cammering from 5 Linden Ave to the first house down and determined when a PVC lateral was installed. A gas line was brushed, which required a pat. I'm not sure
Yep.
what that means.
And that's exactly what we heard. And Gail brought that to my attention when I reviewed the minutes too. So that's what she put down. And if Peter wants to, since I think it was from Peter, if he wants to clarify that, that's great. She figured you'd do it when it came to you, Peter.
No problem. I got about a 5-second lag to come on. It should say patch. The gas
Patch.
company had to come out and patch the pipe,
Patch.
which made them nervous when they went up to Scott's house, the next one.
Okay. Okay, and let me just look at the rest of the page because I checked it
When you
off.
said the gas line was brushed, Peter, was that correct?
Yes, Jeannie, they made slight contact enough to scrape the outer edge of the pipe.
Gotcha, okay.
Then, Mr. Chair, I'm finished.
Yes. Is there anyone else? Okay, hearing no other comments, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of April 30th as corrected, as amended. Is there a second?
Constantino, second.
Very well. We have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, roll call vote. Selectman Constantino.
Constantino, yes.
Fog,
Select-
yes.
Jessamine is a yes. Eric?
Ira, yes.
John?
Scanlon, yes.
Excellent. The next item on the agenda is the discussion of outdoor seating for restaurants in Tilton. As you know, the governor's recent order, Stay at Home 2.0, begins relaxing restrictions on certain sectors of the economy, and restaurants happen to be one of those beginning on May 18th. I understand that we may have some restaurant businesses calling in to ask questions. So I would ask you to be sure to identify yourself and your business when you wish to speak. I know our town administrator has prepared some information for us to consider, including expansion of the existing policy on tables, chairs, and benches on Main Street sidewalks, as well as a draft application for restaurants to complete if they would like to have outdoor seating. Jeannie, would you like to give us an overview?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I sent all this information to the board in an email. I also uploaded it on your board packet, provided a copy, and I know Gail did as well. I think Peter had asked for it. The selectmen's current policy on tables, chairs, and benches on Main Street. So I took it upon myself to create an expansion of the selectmen's policy on tables, chairs, and benches on Main Street, a temporary outdoor seating authorization, which you all should have, and wanted you to take a look at that. My impression from the feedback that I was getting from the selectmen that you were all interested in helping the restaurants expand during this soft opening, if you will, of restaurants on May 18th. And so with that in mind, I created that expansion, which addresses the temporary outdoor seating, outdoor seating. And then there's actually an application that I created for you all to look at. Doesn't look like there are any restaurants on the line. I did get calls and questions. I'm surprised that they're not. I don't see anyone, but I think it's proactive for the board to take a look at this and see if you like it, or if you want something different, or if you don't want to do anything at all. We've got about 30 plus restaurants. I had Leanne run a report for me today, the number of restaurants that we have in Tilton. And while I don't have it in a nice kind of spreadsheet, I was able to get that information and see how many restaurants we have. So I would anticipate we would start getting calls from restaurants asking if they could have outdoor seating. I know I talked to Alex Ray and he was interested in that as well. I think that May 18th is right around the corner. So if this is something we want to do, we want to be ready, start making the calls, and we can respond. So with that, I'll leave it to you and see if anyone had a chance to look at this. If you have any questions, concerns, changes.
Okay, let's start the conversation with Selectman Scanlon. Microphone, John.
You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pass on this. I'm all for it. Making some type of arrangements, and I'll look things over, and I'm pretty much in agreement.
Thank you very much. Selectman Pyra.
I looked it over. My only concern is if any of them, particularly along Main Street, want to block parking spaces. That's the only concern I have is, if they're blocking parking spaces, can they do that, or what's the procedure?
This doesn't
there?
allow that.
Okay.
Currently, they're not allowed to use the parking spaces unless we're having a town-sponsored event. Halloween comes to mind real quick. And nowhere is that allowed in this new ordinance or the old ordinance for that matter.
But what about if they're in, like, let's say an Applebee's, they want to block out their spaces in front? Can they do that?
Those are private property.
Okay.
Yeah, it's private property, including the diner.
That's correct.
Oh, no, that's awesome. You just start playing.
Okay. Do you have any more questions or concerns, John? Or Eric?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Selectman Fogg.
Yeah, regarding Main Street, in order to put seating on the sidewalks on Main Street, we'd need if you have a 2-foot table, you'd need a minimum of 8 feet to get, and that puts the person walking by just at the bare 6-foot minimum. So on Main Street, I think it's sort of problematic at this point if you follow 2.0. Some of those have options either in the back of their property or they own adjacent property that they could use their parking lot.
And that's a good point, and that's why everything's laid out in the application and in the attached 2.0. So they have to follow those guidelines. We're not, they're going to look at them. If they can't follow them, they can't follow them.
Okay.
I know what we're doing in Meredith is we're putting the tables 6 feet apart, but the server can only serve food from the end of the table, if you know what I mean. So they can't go down the aisle, because if they did that, then the tables would have to be 12 feet apart, because it has to be 6 feet from the server has to be 6 feet from the table, if you know what I mean?
Well,
Anyway,
Jeannie,
they'll have to figure it out. They'll have the guidelines and they'll have to figure it out.
okay. I would like to point out as a restaurant guy that a server cannot stand 6 feet from a table and still serve it unless she's got really long arms. So there's got to be some workaround. I would think.
No, you're absolutely right. But if they went down the aisle, Joe, then you
I
have to
understand
have
what you're
tables.
saying.
Yeah.
I injected some levity. It didn't work.
It was
Moving
funny.
on.
It was funny. I laughed inside.
Oh, I love it. Peter, do you have any more
That,
questions or
that was my
concerns?
main concern, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, okay then. And Pat,
Thank you, Joe. Concerning downtown, would it be possible, because we're talking about Casamigo, would it be possible if they got permission from their neighboring businesses to spread it out in front of the sidewalks there with permission? Why
I didn't
wouldn't it?
understand that.
So could they
It's
put
not,
tables in front of
sidewalk's not wide.
could they put a couple of tables in front of the business that they own? They own that building.
Oh, we gotta get that, like, the videos.
Who's
okay,
not,
turn off your mic, please.
Put that thing.
Turn off your microphone, please.
Who's ever got? Somebody's got.
All right, I think we're okay now.
It was caller 2. I muted them. So we can
Thank you
unmute
very
them later.
much.
okay, so they own the building. They own where the vape shop is. So Casamigo. So what would stop them from allowing them putting a couple of tables in front there as well, so that would give them about 4 tables in front temporarily for a couple of weeks?
Joe, may I respond?
You may.
The sidewalk is not wide enough, Pat, for a pedestrian to walk by without getting into the parking spaces. They also own property behind the building adjacent to the town lot along the river. Now, do you want to eat in front with exhaust going by or sitting on a river setting? To me, they've got a better setting out back.
But the people don't realize that they're open if they have a better setting out back. So if people want to know that they're open for business and they can sit in open for business, then I think that we've done this in the past, Peter. We've allowed Polly's to put out seats, and we've also allowed the cafe, where it used to be the Bloom and Iris, to put out there 2 seats with the coffee shop. We've allowed them all summer long, make an exception to this rule. We've allowed that, and people have walked by there. Yes, the sidewalk was a little wider, but they're still going to be able to manage that.
2.0 trumps it right now, Pat.
2.0 is trying to get businesses back into operation so that they can not fold.
Yes, but they have to have the 6-foot spacing. So if you're going to close the sidewalk down, I suppose they could do it. But otherwise, there's not enough room for a pedestrian to walk 6 feet away without being in the gutter of the road.
They're walking the sidewalk going in and out for takeout now. I don't get it.
No. If I want to walk down Main Street, I've got to walk past those tables.
I walked.
Okay, all right, wait, halt. Thank you very much. We're having the same thing over and over again. I get it, the sidewalk's not big enough. I also get it that it doesn't say anywhere in the ordinance that you can't dot them on Main Street. It doesn't say you got to have them in front of your business. So that would seem to be allowed according to the ordinance that I have before me right now.
This would be
Peter is correct. I believe that we have to follow the law. If there's enough space on the sidewalk, they should be allowed. And if there's not enough space, there's not enough space. I would say that's it, kind of, because that's the law.
I,
Now, can
I,
we, if there's a question out here it's can we circumvent that law? Do we have the authority to do that? Jeannie, would you
I
address
don't,
that, please?
I don't think so. I mean, I would not recommend it.
Okay, so there's our dilemma. We're all in favor of sidewalk seating on Main Street, but there are constrictions. Perhaps the parking lot down the street, across the way from the bank, they could talk with the people that own that. Out behind the buildings is another one. There might be some spaces that allow enough room, and they could have tables in that location. Um, is there a motion to be made, or we just follow the
well,
rule?
you're asking my, point of order, Mr. Chair. You've
Yes.
asked everybody's opinions, and just because I asked one question, I'm not finished with my statements, and now
Then
you're
you have my
throwing
apologies.
emojis on everything.
You have my apologies. I thought it was my turn, but you go right ahead.
I don't.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
I have a real issue singling out one person, one business out of the entire downtown that because the sidewalk isn't wide enough, we're going to make waitresses walk down to another parking space to do that. That's my opinion. Um, Everybody else seems to be satisfied with as far as the restaurants are concerned. I think that we've always made a resolve to downtown businesses. We've always made exceptions to the business. And this rule that was made by the governor certainly didn't take into consideration our sidewalk width. And I think that if we called the governor tomorrow, he would understand, fully understand if we wanted a business to open. My second thing that I wanted to bring up is I don't understand why we would need approval by the health officer. I certainly understand the code enforcement and the fire department, but why would we um, have a signature place here for the health officer when I don't feel that that's necessary. That's my opinion.
And I just created the form and I put all three. Happy to, if the board wants to take the health officer off, doesn't matter to me.
I just don't think where it's placement, and I think that's fire department and the code enforcement, which is town of Tilton. So that's my own personal opinion. As it says in the original selectmen's policy for outdoor seating, and it doesn't have the health officer there. So I think we should go with that and just continue with that venue and just do selectmen and fire. That's only my opinion. Thank you. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, we make it. I'm listening. We're listening to the town hall meeting.
You're not muted.
Can you mute that, Tim? Caller 3. Thanks.
I'm finished, Mr. Chair.
Hello?
Go ahead, Joe.
Are we good?
Yep.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Joe.
Well, thank you very much, Pat. Um, yeah, well, I kind of said what I had to say. And as far as the health officer goes, it's probably not necessary for outdoor seating, like you said, Pat. But I also understand it because it is a restaurant health officer, you know. But I'm okay with removing that. And I would say that we move forward, but in accordance with the rule of law at this time. That's my opinion. So is there a motion to be made?
I think public is, Joe, I think public is just come on, and I think maybe perhaps.
Okay. You're right. Okay. I hear you.
1 second.
Is there any comment from the public? Hello, caller 2. You are on the line.
Caller 2, is that me?
Okay, it is now.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
You are.
No. Is this what, the section where you're open it to the public?
It is. Please state your name and the name of your business.
Yeah, this is Michael Dolpes. My wife Melissa and I own Paulie's. We also own 1231 Events, the catering business on the corner. So we own both. And yeah, after a long, almost 2 months of only being able to do takeout, I know our customers are the ones that are feeling that they are taking their own precautions to go out in public and do want to kind of get back to some semblance of definitely looking forward to some table service. So our idea is simply to put a couple of tables outside, mostly against our wall/window. I have already actually cleared with my neighbor that he would be supportive. He's also a customer of ours. He would be supportive of a couple tables near. And again, the number of couple could be 2, could be 1. You know, that's still to be determined. A couple of tables outside his storefront as well. I am not really. I don't mind if any other business. I'm not interested in doing the parking spaces at this time. I just feel I know getting out of in and out of Paulie's to make deliveries in the last couple of weeks or a couple of months. Some people really fly around that corner. So I don't feel comfortable putting anybody, my staff or my customers, in a parking space. So we're just going to be against the against the wall, side of the building.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
I would just hope the board would be. I would appreciate the board being supportive. Businesses of all sizes, large but mostly small, have had a hard time through this, and this is a step in getting back on our feet, so to say. So your support, your understanding, and knowing that we've been here for the community that for all this time, and your support and understanding is really means a lot at this stage of the game, because it's been a long couple of months.
Okay, well, thank you ever so much. I love Paulie's, just as an aside. Caller number 3. Would you like to say something? Hello? Well, I hear nothing from caller number 3. Is there a motion to... Hello? Yes.
No, Jeannie, I just, with any of the restaurants who are on the call, I don't know when you came on, I didn't catch that, but if you were on during the discussion, the selectmen are just about ready to vote on an application process. So it sounds like the selectmen are very supportive, but there will be an application process that you'll need to fill out an application and let us know how you plan to set up. So assuming they approve that tonight, that should be ready tomorrow. And I know the according to 2.0, the 18th of May is when they're allowing this, the 18th of May through the 31st of May.
We also need to,
Okay.
Jeannie.
Thank you very much. Peter, do you have a question?
I wanted a response. Both sides of Main Street, I don't think are wide enough. The north side, between the trees, the telephone poles, the bumpers of the cars, because you'll drive till the tire hits the curb, so you're not out in the traffic. Cut that width down so that you can't get that 6-foot radius away from protection under the 2.0. If it was regular season, yeah, no problem, you could do it. But with wheelchairs and all, you can't do it.
Okay.
I highly disagree with him.
Okay.
We've done.
I have one other question for you, Jeannie. And that question is, would you please see, I know you told me that there's no work around this, but will you please see if there's any way we can make an exception to the width requirement of the sidewalk in order to allow tables where there might not be quite enough room?
I'm happy to ask a question.
Please.
Mr. Chair, I don't know
Pat?
when Mike came in and the other caller came in, but I think it would behoove us to explain to them have Jeannie explain to them what we're talking about as far as the disagreement that we have among the board, that we're not allowing eating in front of their business.
Oh,
Jeannie, would you like to do the Reader's Digest version of this, please?
Well, I guess what I just heard from you, Joe, is you wanted me to go back to the, the state of New Hampshire, what they issued, and find out if there was a workaround. So that's what I was planning to do. At this point, I guess the Reader's Digest version is that the selectmen had a policy on benches, chairs, and tables on Main Street sidewalks. They are just about hopefully ready to sign off on an expansion of the selectmen's policy on tables, chairs, and benches, which would allow temporary outdoor seating. And then there is an application that restaurants who want to take advantage of the outdoor seating would need to fill out this application and essentially just follow the guidelines that have been issued by the state. And the only other thing left for me to do is to follow up on Joe's request to check with the state on any kind of exception for sidewalks, which I will do tomorrow. So I would say this application would probably be ready by Monday if the selectmen sign off on it tonight.
Okay. Is there a motion to be made?
I'll make that motion to accept the application and the process.
Just I'm sorry, we've got two different things. We've got the expansion of the selectmen's policy, and then we have the outdoor seating application, which I heard some selectmen wanted to take out the Tilton health officer. So maybe it'd be helpful to take them up one at a time.
I can make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
John.
Go ahead, John.
So I'll withdraw that other motion, and I'm going to make an expansion motion for the expansion of the policy.
I will second that motion. Is there any discussion?
So you're gonna
Selectman Fogg.
Expansion. So Wild Wild West, I can do whatever I want, not follow the 2.0, not follow the temporary outdoor seating application, because that motion is so vague.
No, what the motion was to approve the expansion of the selectmen's policy, and I provided you that document that you're approving, and in the context of that
And
document,
all
the contents,
of
it
the
spells that out.
guidelines from the governor's office would have to be followed. Jeannie?
That's not what the motion said.
What's that?
That's not what the motion said.
The motion is referring to the policy, and the policy that the expanded policy that I created has the language in it. Are you suggesting that you need to read the whole policy?
Hello?
Pat? Pat?
Are we unmuted?
Yeah, you are. And we're having a selectmen's discussion right this second. But I'll get to you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Pat?
I'm set, Joe.
Okay. Eric?
I am all set. I'm all set.
Okay. John?
All set?
Good enough. Peter?
I guess.
Okay.
I don't
Me?
believe the health officer should be involved in this.
No, that, we're taking them up one at a time, Pat. And right
It's the
now,
one that you're talking about, Jeannie, expansion of selectmen's policy on tables, chairs, and benches on Main Street. The last paragraph says any outdoor seating during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm sorry, I missed that. And I wrote it.
Okay, it does say that
Right,
on
so,
there.
so
So
you,
I'd like to make a motion to amend it to remove health officer.
Fog
Okay.
second.
We have an amendment on the floor. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, we're voting on the amendment and only the amendment. Roll call vote. Constantino.
Yes.
Fog, yes.
Fogg. Jessamine is a yes. Pyra.
Myra, yes.
John.
Scanlon, yes.
Okay, we're back to the original motion to institute the expanded sidewalk ordinance to include the governor's guidelines. And I would like to, at this time, before we get to that, we have a late comer, I think, to the party. And she had made mention that I think she wanted to speak. So you're actually caller 3, the lady who came in. Would you please ask your questions now?
Hi, how are you? Thank you. It was a little confusing trying to understand what was going on. I joined the call a little late. Have a couple young kids running around. So I'm just trying to clarify that you guys are, I am the wife of Michael. We own Polly's and 1231. And like he said, we are definitely for and hope that the, council will be as well to allow for some outdoor seating. And from reading the 2.0, it does say spaces close to entrances. Oh, sorry, a couple motorcycles going by. Entrances, sidewalks, patios, lawn areas. So it does say sidewalks in the 2.0 from the governor, so I would hope that you guys would consider allowing it. I know that probably 2 tops pushed as far against the windows would probably work best than a 4 top, which is going to push out further into the sidewalk. So there definitely are different table sizes that can be used, and I think it will help the Main Street restaurants who have, had to switch completely our models for the past couple months and go into strictly takeout, which we've all done and tried to keep the community going. So any considerations are appreciated. Like I said, I was a little confused with the language, so just wanted to voice my opinion about you guys looking into that and seeing if we can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much for saying that. Okay. Now, we've approved the expanded temporary outdoor seating authorization and application with revisions.
We didn't vote on it, right?
right, can I just, I think what you did was you made the motion,
Allowing
then you made an amendment and voted on the amendment. So now you have to go back to the original and vote on that.
outdoor dining on the sidewalk
Okay, now you
in
gotta watch your
Tilton.
hands. You wipe them off?
Governor's orders.
Can you mute that, Tim? Thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Would you please mute those, Tim? Pat?
Mr. Chair, for clarification, if we vote on
Pat?
this, can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you.
If we vote in the affirmative on this temporary outdoor seating authorization, the expansion of the selectmen's policy on tables, chairs, and benches, then we will be voting that we will be granting seating to restaurants to establish outdoor seating per the stay-at-home 2.0, which means that right now, according to Peter, that Polly's restaurant is in Casamigos will not be able to put seating out front on the sidewalk unless Jeannie finds out different tomorrow, but we're voting on it tonight. So how are we going to know if we're voting on it tonight whether or not that's going to be approved?
We have no way of knowing that that's going to be approved. But we can't, I don't believe, approve something that is against the governor's order.
And why are we voting on something that we don't have all the answers for?
Joe,
So what you're saying is that we should not allow tables to be set up on the sidewalk unless everybody can set up tables on the sidewalk. Is that correct?
No, what I'm saying to you is history of the town and the Board of Selectmen have allowed tables to be set up on the sidewalk. For years, we've allowed it to happen. Not just special events, but for years, we've allowed this to happen. So, where 1231 is, where next to 1231 is, now we had a cafe there with a little coffee shop. We allowed them to have all summer long. We allowed them to have little tables and chairs and next to the curbing so that there was plenty of room for wheelchairs to get by. We went out and measured it, specifically went out and measured it for wheelchair passage. And we allowed them for 2 years in a row until they closed. Now, because the governor doesn't know specifically each town's demographics and the width of each sidewalk, and it's a blanket stay at home, we need to have this very specific guidelines, which it is a guideline. You're saying that the only business downtown really that can open for outdoor seating is going to be T-Hawk. That's, I think, right now, technically, we're voting on something that we don't have all the answers, and that's totally unfair to the other businesses downtown.
Joe,
Peter.
I believe the governor is basing all of his rules under 2.0 on stuff coming from Dr. Fauci and the federal government. This is medically designed, not up to the governor, not up to us. I have no problem if we didn't have 2.0 putting sidewalks in. I mean, seating on the sidewalk. Right now, with those dimensions, I don't think it's going to work. Casamigos has a lot on the backside they can use. Holly's 1231 has their little parking lot in front of 1231 they could use. The only one on Main Street that would be impacted would be V's, but theirs is predominantly takeout anyways. And I'm not going to go against what the 2.0 says. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Is there anybody else that'd like to ring in on this?
Yeah, Joe,
John.
it's my understanding that if we vote in favor of this, we're saying that the selectmen are giving the business owners and the restaurants their blessing and permission for the expansion of the sidewalk tables. However, it does not in any way, shape, or form circumvent the laws that the governor has put into place involving the COVID virus. That's my understanding, right? We're not
Correct.
circumventing any federal or state laws.
Joe, Mr. Chairman, can I read something for you? The stay-at-home 2.0 food service industry. Consumer protection guidelines. As an extension of the curbside and delivery model, restaurants are permitted to offer outdoor dining beginning Monday, May 18th, 2020. Restaurants are permitted to expand outside wherever an outdoor area can be set up safely, such as parking spaces close to entrances, sidewalks, existing patios, and lawn areas. Outdoor areas must be able to be cleaned and disinfected as appropriate. The outdoor space must be clearly delineated and distanced from the general public. If expansion is in a shared space, restaurants must coordinate and seek approval from local authorities. So I think if a restaurant wants to take advantage of the temporary outdoor seating, if you approve that, then it's up to the restaurants to figure out how to make that work.
Okay.
But
Is
it's
there
not a
anybody?
one-size-fits-all.
Your point is well taken, Pat. Is there any other discussion? Am I even on here?
Yes,
You're
you
on.
are.
Oh, okay. I can never tell. I can never tell. All right. Hearing no other discussion. I would take a roll call vote. Constantino,
Constantino votes no, there's not enough information yet.
Selectman
Fog,
Fogg,
yes. Fog, yes.
Jessamine is a yes. Selectman Pyra,
Ira, yes.
Selectman Scanlon.
Yes.
Okay, we're in favor of the sidewalk seating, and Jeannie will be finding out tomorrow if we can circumvent the federal guidelines and the guidelines in the emergency order in order to facilitate more tables.
Uh, uh,
Jeannie.
Yeah, Tim, can you make a change to that document, take out health officer and upload that for the selectman to e-signature that?
I can. Can you share it with me?
It's in the board packet.
Okay. All right. I'll take a look. The source document or the PDF?
I think it's a source document.
Okay. Great. I'll work on it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Selectman Constantino.
I would like to officially challenge this vote and ask Town Administrator Jeannie Forrester to check with New Hampshire Municipal Association on the validity of this vote taken without knowing all the information. You voted on you made a motion to vote on a motion on a policy without saying contingent upon information for getting information tomorrow.
Point of order.
Selectman Fogg.
I believe we voted on a motion following state and federal guidelines. I'm going to follow those laws before I break anything, so that even if something came back different, I'm going to want to see it from the governor. I would say 2.0 until he changes it, period. Thank you.
And the vote was 4-1 to do just that.
So why
Selectman
is
Selectman Forrest, yeah.
what
Town
information are you
Administrator.
sending Jeannie to get tomorrow then?
Pardon me, Pat.
What information are you sending Jeannie to get on this motion?
To see if we can adjust the official width of the sidewalk that goes around the orders from the governor,
Which would change what?
which would give them, they wouldn't be required to have quite as much room between them and the curb, and so that would allow for more outdoor seating.
Is that anywhere in the motion?
No,
So do you have to come back to the Board of Selectmen to get permission to do that?
no, because we voted to follow the governor's guidelines. If the governor's guidelines include a lessening of the width of the sidewalk, we're covered.
So you're in a Board of Selectmen meeting, you make a motion that doesn't include that, then you send the town administrator off to get some information. And if that information comes back differently than what you thought it was at the Selectmen's meeting, which you're no longer in the Selectmen's meeting, and that comes back and you allow the business owners to do it a certain way based on that information, that should be either included in the motion or in the minutes, one way or another, and nothing's being recorded in that manner. nothing has been made a motion in an action to do that.
Joe, we have another week to vote on it. It doesn't start till what, the 18th?
Correct.
That's correct. Hey, Jeannie, is there
Yes.
precedent for calling HMA to see if what Pat said?
Well, I'm happy to call NHMA. If I heard Pat correctly, she wants to challenge the validity of the vote, which I think the vote was fine myself. Happy to make that call and ask the question. I would also point out to you that as easy as it is for us to meet virtually, that if I get information tomorrow that says something different, we can always have an emergency virtual meeting and we can vote again.
It would seem as though we have another regularly scheduled selectmen's meeting prior to the allowance date of May 18th. Is that correct?
May 18th is the day it starts, and as I pointed out when I read that little blurb, it's for 2 weeks, May 18th to the 31st, and hopefully, 2.0 goes away and everything goes back to normal. I don't know, but it's for 2 weeks.
Well, I would say that we find out about Pat's challenge. We have a motion that passed on the floor, and unless anybody voted in favor of it is interested in bringing it back up, I'm suggesting we move on. Okay. Hearing nobody, the next thing on our agenda is
Mr. Chairman,
Jeannie.
I just want, on the temporary outdoor seating application, could I get consensus from the board that you do what I assume, I just want to check, that you want me to take the Tilton Health Officer off this form?
Pat,
Yes.
Peter? Peter?
Yes, Joe, if
Okay,
your camera was
Peter's
on,
yeah.
you'd see
I
my
wasn't
thumb.
looking. I have a script, buddy. Thank you, Jeannie. Let me see here. I'm a yes. And Eric,
Yes.
John,
I agree.
okay, we're taking off the health officer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think that takes care of that subject, sort of, kind of, for now. So we'll move on to the next thing on the agenda, which are the select. Oh, wait a minute. Is there any other public discussion? There's nobody on. So here we go. The next thing on the agenda are the selectmen's reports, and we'll start with Pat Constantino.
Okay, I got a couple items. The senior center floor is being installed. It was a little snafu this morning. They came yesterday. They called. They were going to put it in yesterday. So Kevin went up and took the toilets out. Then they called and said they couldn't do it yesterday, so they were going to come in and do it today. But they noticed that it did need a subflooring, so they put the job on hold, unbeknownst to me. So they're coming on Tuesday. So now Kevin's got to put it back in for one day. God bless him. I'm telling you, he's been a godsend. He's going to put the toilets back in for one day and then take them back out for Tuesday and work with them up there. Under senior center meals, I know we've had volunteers in the area going shopping for our seniors. This letter does not include just Tilton. It includes everybody that's been involved with the community action and the Friends program. They made their first shopping trip 6 weeks ago on April 2nd. As of today, this program has completed 160 shopping trips for 79 seniors, 17 towns in the service area. So I just wanted to give you those numbers. That's very impressive. The other thing is the chief still on the line?
I am, Pat. I'm on.
Okay, good, because I wanted to thank him personally because I got a few phone calls. I don't want to disappoint Eric, but I got a few phone calls on the Dairy Queen. We had a parking situation, I guess, because of the drive-through. The drive-through was backed up way past Dunkin' Donuts a couple of times, and nobody could get through. And they were very concerned about if there were ever emergency vehicles or first responders having to get through. There would be no way if another car was coming the opposite direction. So thank you, Chief. The Chief went and talked with Dairy Queen. They came up with a resolve. So I've been there the last couple of days during the busiest times, and it's kind of worked out. So I don't know what you came up. Maybe you can explain it to the board, what kind of resolve you came up with. But whatever it is,
Sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. So I met with the owners and I told them that, obviously we can have traffic back up onto Route 3. So she's really worked hard with her staff to cut the wait time at the drive-through to under 2 minutes a car. She said she's trying to get it down to a minute, and she said that if she sees it start to back up, she'll pull them through quicker. She said if that doesn't help, she'll open up the walk-up window again. She just said because of COVID, everyone was opting to use the drive-through, and she really had trouble trying to staff both the drive-through and the window. But she's made some changes, and it definitely worked because I went by there several times today too, Pat, and it looks much better. And she does plan to open up the outside seating after the 18th.
Great news. All right. And the other thing is, I already thanked Kevin and the gang. They're doing a wonderful job. They're helping us out greatly. I called in to Al, the plant code enforcement, for the 2 sandwich boards that are on the sidewalk downtown at the vape shop. And we don't allow the sandwich boards. And Al spoke with them and last week, and they said that they would take them in, but they're out again this week. So I put a phone call today, actually this afternoon, to Leanne. So hopefully a letter will go out on that. And last but not least, I don't know if anybody else has been getting feedback, but even I went to Hannaford's today to get a prescription, and 2 or 3 people stopped me. Most of them were 6 feet apart. One wasn't. To comment on the flowers in Tilton, the jonquils and the tulips. So that was a very positive feedback. All week long we've gotten nothing but good feedback on that. So that kudos to Jeannie on that thought. That's it.
Thank you very much, Pat. Selectman Fogg.
Yes, number 1, Linden Ave. Yesterday, Sewer Commission with Rowell repaired the pipe or finished the pipe for 5 Linden Ave. It's been patched over. I believe Public Works was aware. We were taking pictures as we went through. The next house up, Mr. Usinger, rather than dig there, they're going to push a new line through from the house, so there'll be no excavation there. So that's the end of our issues on Linden Ave, so that would be ready to pave. Cedar Street, I have a bunch of questions because there's like no warranty on the product apparently, and if we blame it on the water coming from a certain house, it had to have flown uphill looking at the patch, not to mention it crossed the road going uphill to get to the opposite side. I don't know if we took any cores because failure could have been the mix was too thin or it was a poor quality mix, but I don't know where we are with that. The High Street Extension staging area that water and sewer use has been seeded, and I think hay thrown over it, so grass should be starting hopefully shortly. And then could we ask Public Works again, I've lost track of the schedule for paving the sidewalk on Main Street and how long that's going to be and how it'll impact those businesses? And then I got one question for Chief Cormier.
Yeah, I'm on, Peter.
Officer Colcord, is he free on his own or is he still under FTO?
No, he's on his own.
So when are we adjusting these schedules to reflect what the voters asked for when we approved them 2 town meetings ago? Has that been done?
It is. Yeah, he's out on his own.
No. What I mean was the slot where they were putting the 9th officer was providing coverage where we had some weak areas to bulk up some. Has that been done yet?
No, right now, I think I put it in my report a couple times. We have Officer Glenn working on the evidence room. She's made a ton of improvement there to get everything ready for the move and to do the annual inventory. And then once she completes that, then we'll probably make another adjustment to the schedule. They're out to bid right now. So in this next bid, you'll probably see those changes, Peter.
I just wish it follows the will of the voters. They're the ultimate choice for the town. That's all. That's it for me, Joe.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. I'm next. The Lockmere Water Commission, Lockmere Village District, hasn't had a meeting in 2 months. We have tentatively scheduled for June 2nd at the Tilton Senior Center, dependent on whether there is access to 30.
Joe, you're cutting in and out.
Guidance. Right now we don't have the technology to have a virtual meeting, so that's where we're at Lockmere Village, and yet the water continues to flow. Okay,
Joe?
residents who need assistance in any yes.
Joe, you were cutting in and out. We only heard half of what you were saying.
Okay. The Lockmere Village District's yearly meeting has been rescheduled on June 2nd at 5:30 at the Senior Center, depending on whether the Senior Center is available. That's what we've got going right now. That's subject to change, and the notice will be placed prior to that. The second thing is residents who need assistance in any area, including COVID-19 related issues, should dial 211. 211 is the connection for New Hampshire residents to the most up-to-date resources they need from specially trained information and referral specialists. Due to COVID-19 and the need for social distancing, we have directed our Department of Public Works to hold off on putting out the benches in town. As soon as it is determined to be safe, the benches will go out. Additionally, spring cleanup has been postponed indefinitely. All town buildings remain closed to the public until June 1st, per the governor's recent order, Stay at Home 2.0. While our public buildings are closed, our departments continue to operate and services are being delivered to residents and customers. Methods and explanations of service delivery are posted on our website, tiltonnh.org. New to our website on the homepage, we've added information to help residents report when a street light is out. Just click on Eversource and it will pull up the streetlight repair form to complete, and you'll need the number of the pole for that. Eversource will be performing work in Tilton. They have 2 scopes of work that are impacting Tilton in April and May. Eversource mailed a letter to property owners along the L176/J125 transmission line. This corridor is the one that connects Webster Substation and Laconia Substation is located in the towns of Franklin, Tilton, Belmont, and Laconia. Is there any questions? Hearing none. Next thing on the list is Eric Byra.
All right, thanks. Like Peter, I had a concern about with restaurant seating outside the south side of Main Street, paving there, just making sure that we avoid it between, I guess, the 18th and the 31st. And then also along Main Street, I don't know what the schedule is, but I noticed today a couple of the barrels were full. And I don't know if they need to be emptied more frequently or not, but I hate to see the trash get blown around. But I don't know what the schedule is. So if that could be looked into, maybe they have to be um, emptied a little bit more often with more people eating, on Main Street.
Is that it, Eric?
That's it.
Okay, terrific. John Scanlon.
Yeah, so last night the trail committee met virtually, and Rick Silverberg reported that he had taken a walk all the way from down by Franklin up through Northfield and the whole Tilton thing. And actually, the trail was in quite good shape for the winter. No major work needs to be done on it. The trail committee will be meeting in June and setting up the maintenance schedule and the report to the selectmen then. They're still working out how they're going to do that. They're also going to be doing a maintenance on it and cleanup. And like I said, they're trying to figure that one out with the spacing and that. But anyway, that's it for the trail committee. The other thing is a few years back, we purchased some special cleaner for cleaning the statues that's environmentally friendly and safe to plants and everything like that. And it's also specific to cleaning the materials that the statues are made of. I was going to go and clean some of the statues again. The one statue that would need a little bit more cleaning and some assistance with would be the statue in the center of town. I'm willing to do that, but there will be a couple things that I would like to know is if we can find out if the water in the outside water for town hall is turned on yet. I think there's one in the planter itself that the water department turns on. And the other thing is possibly having to set up some type of safety setup with the police department to, there would be a tall step ladder being used on the west side of the statue just to reach it. But that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, John. Are there any questions? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, hearing none. The next item on our agenda is Jeannie Forrester, Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item on my weekly update is to get the board to approve the letter that we drafted for the Tilton Board Committee and Commission chairs. This was follow up to last week's meeting. I sent that letter out to the board. Tim does have it in an e-signature. So I'd like to see if you have any questions or if you're good to sign off on the letter.
Selectman Constantino. Pat.
I so move.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Have we any discussion? Starting with you, John.
It came up last night. The trail committee was talking about possibly hiring somebody or somebody from the town to spray some of the was it the Japanese knotweed, and they didn't know how this would affect that. There's somebody that we've been using um, for that, but they were going to check back with the selectmen to see if that was still allowed.
What am I missing here? John, we're talking about a letter going out to the chairman of the boards and committees and whatever about meeting decorum.
Oh, okay. I get the wrong letter. No, I disregard my last statement.
It was a good one, John.
No, I was thinking about the hiring one.
We'll get to that.
Oh yeah. Let me. I guess
Are you all
I
set
have
then,
nothing
John?
to say then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Eric Pyro.
I thought it was well worded.
I'm good with it myself. Peter.
I'm good.
Pat. I
I'm
think
good.
Pat made the motion, so I'm assuming she's good.
I'm good.
All right. We have this motion. Let's take a roll call vote. Constantino.
Constantino, yes.
Fog,
Bob.
yes.
Jessamine is yes. Eric.
Ira, yes.
John.
Scanlon, yes.
Okay. And we'll be able to sign that electronically soon, I'm sure.
Yes,
Jeannie?
Tim will send it to you. Second on the agenda was to review, approve the temporary outdoor seating authorization application. You've done that. The third item on the action list is the town clerk tax collector would like to open her office so that she can do cumbersome transactions. She wants to do that by appointment only. I did ask her a couple questions. We would need to purchase counter shields, which she would want 2 of those at a cost of $155. I'm concerned about how you keep the public out. We'd have to block the hallway, and we would need to disinfect at night. And I asked her about that, and she said she'd block the hallway and that the deputy could disinfect at night and spray the disinfectant. I did check in with MMANH to see what other clerks are doing around the state. And for the most part, all of them are operating with a closed building still. There are some here and there. There's one town that has a tent set up outside. Some do a by appointment only, but it seems like for the most part that the public buildings are closed per the stay-at-home order. So that was her request. I told her I would bring it to the board for their decision.
Okay, thank you very much. How about you, Peter?
If the shield and all complies with 2.0 and she's willing to do it, I'm fine with it.
John?
I'd like to see at least for until the 18th or so, anyway. Some arrangements made for outside.
So
I'm not. I don't think we're ready to have people in the building yet. And
Okay, that's the issue.
so
People
I'd
in the
like to
building.
have them outside arrangements made.
Okay. Pat?
I don't think personally that we should be allowing people in the building unless that we go ahead and do the shield, the protection in the a doorway of some sort that blocks going into the hallway, and whomever it is, whether it's Cindy or the deputy, that they have uh, very strong PPE, the shield and or the masks and gloves. So and whether it's being clean, just spraying is not a disinfectant. So it has to be wiped down. So I don't, for now, I think that we should go ahead with our original decision and at least till the 18th.
Peter?
I've already spoken. I
No,
think
you already spoke.
the
I'm
only,
sorry,
the
Eric.
only thing I would add is gloves give you a false sense of security and also spread it.
How about you, Eric?
My concern is making it accessible. You can't block the hallway and keep the building accessible. So you're actually opening up the whole first floor.
Okay. Is there a motion to be made?
Hey, Joe,
Pat?
can we ask, we have two people that are staff right here. Can we ask them what their feelings are on it?
Sure. Jeannie?
Um, I understand what, the struggles that Cindy's going through. She has communicated to me that she's spending a lot of time at night on emails back and forth. A lot of folks have a real challenge with getting things done easily. My concern is we do have employees who have either compromised systems or family members who have compromised systems. I don't know how you can block that hallway. And somebody just made that point, which is a good one. If you block that hallway, then anyone needing to go upstairs can't go upstairs because that's blocked. I get concerned about the transmission of COVID. Maybe there is a way we could make arrangements for something outside. I know that in Meredith, what we do is we have a window that people make an appointment, they come to the window, and the transaction is done through the window so that there's nobody coming in and out. They stay outside. The person inside is inside and protected. I worry about the comfort level of employees, being safe.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, what she said.
Okay, I'd like that
I
short.
think personally, I think it's a little early. I think they have ways of dealing with the box in the front by using that to transfer documents, and it's cumbersome on all of us. So I'm certainly sympathetic, but I just think it's early, personally, considering what's going on in Franklin. It's right next door, so.
Okay. So, is there a motion to be made?
Constantino makes a motion that we keep the town hall closed to the public till May 18th.
May 18th or May 31st?
Oh, May
Right
31st.
now, we're closed until the 31st. I already announced it.
Oh, okay. Then we've continued to keep it closed till May 31st.
If there's no motion, we just continue to follow the policy we've already established.
Then we don't need a motion.
Okay, no. Okay, then I would say that's your answer, Jeannie.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, I need to ask the selectmen to unseal a section of the minutes of the 131-19 non-public minutes regarding Tilton's attorney prosecutor's pay relative to the Franklin contract. The auditors need the information. This was a request Tim needs to get to the auditors.
Okay, I would make a motion to unseal the section of the minutes of 131-19 as they pertain to compensation of an employee because the circumstances for which the minutes were sealed no longer apply. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by any number of people. Fogg, I think.
Yep.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Constantino.
Yes, Constantino, yes.
Fogg, yes.
Jessamine, yes. Byra.
Byra, abstain.
Scanlon?
Yes. Scanlon, yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Jeannie?
Thank you. So let's see, I won't go through my FYI list unless somebody has a question on it.
Well, actually, I do.
Well,
The first one, the $86,803 that were being allocated from the CARES Act funds. Does that just go into the general fund?
no. So if you remember, Tim responded to the survey, and this number is based on population. So that's what that's what we are eligible for, up to $86,803 from the CARES Act funds. We will have more details on Friday, but essentially what we have to do is we have to make an application about what we want to be reimbursed for. There are certain things that are allowable to be reimbursed for. There are going to be 3 different times that you can apply for the funding, and there are deadlines. So we don't automatically get the 86,000, and if we don't hit the deadline to apply, we will miss that opportunity.
Follow-up question. We're not
Yes.
going to miss the deadline, are we?
Nope. Tim never
Excellent.
misses a deadline.
Thank you ever so much. I knew that.
That's right.
I'll give you some of the examples of things that are allowable. Increased welfare costs, food, shelter, utilities, interest on the tax anticipation notes, wages and benefits required by the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, municipal building modifications for cleaning, disinfecting, etc. So those are the types of things that are allowed. One of the things that, and there are still many questions and we're waiting for clarification, but we will not miss that deadline.
Thank you very much.
I have a
So,
question, Mr. Chairman, on the FYI. Okay. On the COVID-19 first responders stipend program,
Yes,
the disbursement, you're under the understanding that we get the money first and then you disperse it.
that's my understanding, yes.
So it's the police officers that are first responders. Does that include dispatch?
That's one of the questions that we are waiting for clarification on. There are a lot of, they issued these announcements, but they didn't give all the details. And so there have been many questions that we are expecting to get information on tomorrow. But that was one of the questions.
Okay. Well, my other question was, do they get taxed on this or not?
No,
Okay. Okay, doke.
that we do know.
Okay.
All right. Let me see. I wanted to mention a follow-up from last week. I had asked or advised the selectmen that the 150th committee, instead of banners, put up American flags. There was a question from the public about if that was flag etiquette. I did check with a friend of mine who was the chair of the State Veterans Advisory Council. He is also the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army for New Hampshire. He has held multiple positions of authority. So I say that as background, that I believe he knows what he's talking about. He said that the ambient light from cars passing by suffices.
okay.
Thank you, Jeannie.
So unless I hear otherwise, I think I'm going to keep going on that project.
Please.
We are getting quotes to clean the building once we're ready to open. I think, Joe, you had asked me that. One of the
Yeah.
quotes we got back was for $1,200. That was to fog the building.
Where would that
And
money come from, Tim?
that I would guess would be for the CARES money. We would get reimbursed for that. Wouldn't you think, Tim?
Yes. Yeah, I would think so.
Outstanding.
The other thing I wanted to mention is the stop sign that Eric had asked about moving. The chief is still on, and he's looked at it. Chief, I don't know if you want to weigh in, but I did talk to Kevin, and he's ready to move it if the board is good with that. Chief?
Sure, I did take a look at it last week, and it's actually extremely close to the intersection. And so, if someone was to make a right on High Street, it would be easy for them to miss it. And so, I think it would be appropriate to move it about 25 feet east of the existing location, and that would put it somewhere around that lot line, I believe. But in summary, Jeannie, yes, I think it's okay to move it, and I would imagine Kevin should be able to.
And he was fine with moving it if the board says yes.
Chief?
Go ahead, Joe.
Jeannie asked you a question.
No,
I'm sorry.
I just said
Or was it a statement?
Kevin, yeah, it was a statement. Kevin's ready to move it if the selectmen are okay with it, because the chief says he's good with it being moved.
Okay.
So are the selectmen good with him moving it?
I'm a yes. Pat?
I'm a yes.
Peter?
Could I make a correction first? Point of order?
Point of order, John?
Yeah, it's a speed limit sign. It's not a stop sign.
Oh, sorry.
Just for the minutes, Gail, if you got that. Go ahead. Thanks.
Chief. All right.
Thank
Speed
you.
limit sign. Peter?
Thank you, John. You answered my concern. I'm a yes now.
I just did that to see if you were listening.
Okay. Eric?
I'll abstain.
Eric? Okay.
I'll
John?
abstain.
Yes,
I heard you. Thanks. John, you're a yes?
yes, yes.
Jessamine is a yes. We're going to move the sign.
And I have one more issue and then I'm done. So the board had a discussion about bumps on Peabody Street. And I believe the chiefs looked at it. I believe Kevin's looked at it. They support the speed bumps, I think, on either end. There was a discussion with the selectmen about whether there should be a public hearing or a meeting to invite the public for their consensus. My understanding is that the folks on Peabody Street have been supportive of speed bumps and are supportive of speed bumps. There was a suggestion that possibly getting signatures from the folks on the residents on Peabody Street would be sufficient. So I guess what I'm looking for the selectmen is direction. Do you want to have a meeting where we invite the people on Peabody Street, or would you be sufficient with somebody going around having them sign a petition? All right.
My personal feeling is going around having somebody sign a petition is kind of against the social distancing. But we could put this on the agenda for next week and let everybody know, or 2 weeks from now, and notice it and let everybody know that it's coming up, and then we can take take their questions and concerns at that time. That would be my input. Pat?
I agree with you, Joe. I think that we should go. It's past practice that we've always asked their opinions and had a public hearing on the speed bumps. I'm all for a speed bump. I'm in agreement with it, but we need to ask the residents on the street.
Okay,
So do you
Peter?
want,
Peter?
Go ahead, Jeannie.
I was just gonna ask, do you want an official public hearing where we post it in the newspaper? Is that what you're telling me? Okay,
Public hearing, Joe, is my comment.
okay.
Eric?
Are you talking about a virtual public hearing? Because we cannot have a
Yes,
public hearing
of course,
as
yes.
Virtual public hearing.
virtual public hearing. Okay. I would be okay with a virtual public hearing.
John?
I'm good with that.
That's a yes. So can we get the notices out so we can do that in 2 weeks?
Yes,
Okay, terrific. So, Jeannie,
yes.
is that it?
That's all I have.
Okay. We're now to the portion of the program where we're doing other business. Is there any other business to come before the selectmen today?
I would just like to mention that you have about 27 unsigned documents in Sign Now between all sorts of exemptions, abatements, payroll, payables, so on and so forth. And the TAN, please. There's one for the TAN for our cash flow, one for the ban so that we can pay milestone next week. Those are really important. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Joe,
you.
And my 2 letters.
Okay, go.
Joe, going along with that, I did on the manifest. Going along with it, I wanted to put that on hold to talk about the R&D paving because I have questions on that. I wanted to see what was the total amount, and I don't have my book because I have the original bid in my book, and because we're virtual, I don't have it. I wanted to see what the percentage of that 8,000 is the total amount, and you're shaking your head, Peter. I see it.
It's going to be above and beyond
Above and beyond what?
Tim,
the
could you
contract.
address this?
Well, what we have is their original bid, which is in the Selectmen's dashboard under agreements and under R&D paving. But it shows, I think, 138,000 for Cedar Street, and it has a number of responses and that sort of thing to the as part of the bid document. But as I reread the invoice, it looks as though it's a repair that was as a result of water damage. Well, it was a repair. Let me put it that way. I see Peter wanting to correct me. So it was a repair that was outside of that, which I would imagine is outside of that contract unless it had something to do with their workmanship. And I
Then,
think Peter had mentioned that earlier.
Peter, would you like to respond?
That's why I've sent an email, I thought, looking to get, I want to see the tonnage slips that were used for that road. Once I get dimensions, I can back calculate based on the thickness to see if the tonnage matches. That's an easy check. If it matches, then it's not the thickness unless you got an area where it got real thick and it got thin in that area. Then you look at, was it the mixed quality, which wouldn't be R&D, that would go back to Pike. But that becomes a problem when you get a supplier and a laydown with different companies.
is it possible to take this out of the manifest so the rest of the manifest can get signed and we can hold this? Because if this is a repair above and beyond, I'm really not. I'm questioning whether or not that's on us. Me personally, because I've seen the work, because it is not water damage down by the Couriers, because that's almost 100 feet or 200, maybe 200 feet, way beyond where water ever touched. And
Well,
go ahead.
when the questions were arisen this morning, I sent those off to Kevin and asked him for a reply, and I forwarded his reply to the board. So that's really all I know about it. we could either void the check and redo it at some future point, or we can just take it out and hold it.
I'd rather
Completely
just
up to
take it out and hold it till we get answers, and then, because I know we have to pay something eventually, but I want the answers before I'm comfortable
Sure.
And
paying.
I agree with that myself.
Well, Jeannie, I'm off tomorrow, but would you please? It's on Gail's desk. If you would just get that check and put it in your drawer to R&D
Okay.
Paving.
So can we sign the manifest? It's got that on the top sheet, though.
No, he
No,
switched it to. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, what I can, I don't know if I can put a note on there at this point, but if I can, because it's already prepared for signature. But you have my word, we'll take that check out so that it doesn't, it's not going to be sent until you have your answers. The problem for this particular manifest is that we have abatement checks in there that have calculated interest, and I'm sure Jeannie and would prefer to get those
Right.
to the taxpayers.
I would too. Yeah. Okay. I get it. I'll sign it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business? I have one. The annual district meeting for Winnisquam Regional School District is going to be held on Saturday, May 9th at 120 Laconia Road in Tilton. That's the outlet parking lot, Tanger Outlet, at 9 a.m. But please start arriving for check-in at 8. Okay, because there'll be some information and whatnot you'll need to in order to participate. That's all from me. Is there any other business?
I do.
Mr. Chairman,
Eric?
before Eric, can I just jump in on
Jeannie?
your comment? I believe that's wrong, Joe. I
What?
got that email as well. And Tim, I think you could pipe in because then we have this discussion. It's actually in June now, and it's at,
No, this is for the school district.
it is the school district.
School district
Okay.
is Saturday, and
Okay.
and cars are going to be routed in through the front entrance and past Starbucks, and then you're going to be routed to your appropriate town's supervisors of the checklist.
Okay.
Certain people are going to be parking up near the moderator and school board, such as Jane, who is on the budget committee, and myself. And then all the other cars are going to be in a checkerboard. So there'll be a space in between each car, and then they'll be alternating on each row. And there'll be several, I think 2 microphones. They're going to be wiped down in between speakers. There won't be more than 3 speakers allowed out of their cars at any one time. And then also I believe they've got it set up so that you can tune in on FM radio if you're within a certain distance. So it's got to be a pretty close proximity within the Tanger outlet area so that you can hear the speakers.
Okay. So it
Joe.
is on May 9th.
Joe,
Yeah, Peter.
I only wish they followed the Bow School District model. If you go to the Concord Monitor and look at what Bow did, they did the meeting and then they gave time for comment and came back, and it wasn't a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, in a parking lot.
Well, hopefully they'll be taking that into account, Peter. But there you go. That's on the school district. Is there any other business to come before us tonight?
Yes.
Eric.
The fire district meeting has been postponed once again to June 8th.
That's the one.
That one has been postponed. The reason why we have to keep postponing it is we have a ballot question which requires the ballot box to be open for 1 hour. And with 6 feet distance, it's trying to get around that, but that's where we stand today.
What's the ballot question?
I believe it's for the purchase of the fire engine. I believe it's a warrant article, and it has to be a ballot. I believe that's the only one, but either way, we have a ballot question that requires us to be open for an hour.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before us tonight? Is there any questions from the public? Seeing none. The time being 6:30, right on the nose. I'd like to make a motion to move into non-public session per RSA 91-A semicolon 3 paragraph 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against them. Do I have a second?
Bog second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Constantino.
Yes.
Bog,
Bog.
yeah.
Jessamine is yes. Eric.
Pyra, yes.
Sean.
Scanlon, yes.
Okay. So to the selectmen, hang up your phone or disconnect and call into the number provided on your agenda. And nobody else has that number. If you've misplaced the number, please call Jeannie on her cell. And oh, there we go. And I'll see you. I'll see you when I see you. We're in non-public. You got it, Tim? Okay, Jessamine is on the line. Okay. I heard you. No, as far as I know. Is that I can't clear the worked the last time this came up. We were definitely notified. Well, you'll see how it plays out. Okay, here we go. Roll call vote. Well, wait a minute. Is there a second? Okay, it's seconded by Selectman Pyra. Roll call vote. Constantino. Gentlemen, yeah. Pyra. Hanlon. Okay, see you back there. Okay, I'm back.
Hey, Joe, I'm back.
Yep, me
You
too.
beat me.
There's Tim.
I say no visitors, just crickets.
Yeah. Well, I'm still going to ask for public comment when the time comes.
Yep.
It's Jeannie, Pat.
Yep.
This is like the Brady Bunch.
How did I get to be Marsha Brady in the top left?
You've moved. I got top left in mine.
That's your
Okay,
Maybe we're
Peter,
all top left.
Pat's on twice.
Yeah,
I don't know, but either way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I will make a motion
Pat, you're gonna have to
to
mute
seal the
something.
minutes of the non-public session of May 7th, 2020, because the divulgence of the information likely would render the proposed action ineffective. Roll call vote. Now, is there a second?
second.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Selectman Constantino. Roll call vote. Constantino.
Constantino, yes.
Bog, yes.
Jessamine, yes. Myra.
Ira, yes.
Scanlon.
Scanlon, yes.
Okay. If there's no other business, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:49 p.m. Is there
Ira,
a
second.
second?
Ira, second.
We have a motion and a second. Vote with your fingers. See you later. Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
Judy.
Sign your documents. Sign your documents.